The content of this podcast does not represent the views of Missouri Southern State University. Hey guys, welcome back to Real Life Experiences podcast. Today we are going to be interviewing Travis Walthall on his experience doing police work and working with the Canine unit.
Hello everyone, my name's Zoe.
My name's Eddie.
I'm Cameron, and we are here with a special guest. Your name?
My name is Lyle Travis Walthall. I go by Travis.
Travis.
Yeah.
We'll ask you a couple of questions, get to know you a little bit.
Okay.
So, how long have you taught here at MSSU?
Well, I started teaching in the police academy in 2006, and I've been full-time faculty for the last 6 years, so 2019.
Awesome.
What type of classes do you teach?
I teach a variety, really, quite a few. This semester, I'll just say, I'll start with this semester. I have criminal investigations, international justice systems, report writing, and capstone. And I also teach police use of force and I teach firearms 1 and 2. Yeah.
You have any favorites?
I really liked international terrorism. Last semester was the first time I taught it, and I really enjoyed it. And I've taught firearms for like 30 years, so I enjoy that as well.
What did you do for work before coming to MSSU?
I was in law enforcement for about 24 years.
What were some of the challenges you faced?
In law enforcement, dealing with a variety of, I don't know how to put it. I want to say personalities, but that's not necessarily true. Just dealing with people who didn't like the police very much. That was a challenge sometimes, depending on the situation.
What inspired you to do police work?
Yeah, when I read that question, I kind of had to pause because I don't have any like real inspiration. So when I got out of high school, I came to Missouri Southern and was kind of directionalist. I didn't have any direction. There you go. And I wasn't a very good student, so I ended up leaving school, and I was working at a convenience store, and I knew that was like a dead end. So one day I just woke up literally and thought, I'm going to be a cop. So that's what I did. And once I started, I really liked it. So I got into that and did a variety of things for the police department.
Okay.
Do you have any interesting stories while you were a cop or being a cop?
I have a lot of interesting stories. That's another one of those questions.
What's your favorite one to tell?
Yeah.
Well, I was a canine handler for the Joplin Police Department for 17, 18 years, something like that. And so all my favorite stories involve my dog. So there's a lot of instances where my dog was used either for drug interdiction or criminal interdiction. The dog was trained in narcotics and patrol work, so they did tracking and building searches and suspect apprehension. So if criminals were being violent or were a threat to other cops or myself, then the dog was authorized by policy to, we say engage them, but they would bite them. So there's quite a few stories, but one of my favorite stories was probably we were looking for this guy for a long time, like several days, had a lot of felony warrants, like assault warrants, and I think a burglary warrant or something, I don't remember, but the police police found him in a neighborhood in a car, and there was a pursuit that was long and pretty high speed. It was getting kind of dangerous, and it was in a lot of residential neighborhoods. So I got involved in this pursuit. I think I was like the third car in the pursuit, and some other officers were able to throw out stingers or, spike strips to deflate his tires. So they deflated his tires, and then as that was happening, he swerved toward the officer who had thrown the stinger. And these were like early model stingers, so you had to pull them back with a rope after the suspect car went over him. Well, the suspect swerved toward the officer that had the rope, so he let go of the rope and like dove out of the way. So he wasn't able to get the stinger out of the road. So the couple of police cars ahead of me went over the stingers with all their tires and flattened all four of their tires. I swerved and got one tire, and I knew it. So I just drove as far as I could till that tire went flat. And then I got out of my car and thought, the suspect keeps circling this one neighborhood, so he's trying to go to a house, I figured. So I just got my dog out of the car and just started walking the neighborhood, thinking there's no way I'm going to be involved in this. Well, he eventually couldn't go any longer because his tires were flat, so he got out and started running from the cops who were still in the pursuit. So they're in foot pursuit, and this is like, 2 or 3 in the morning, so it's dark out. But I see him run. I was walking south, and he was running from east to west, like a half a block ahead of me. So I sent my dog, and my dog was able to catch up to him and bit him on one of his thighs, I think. And of course, he fell down, and we were able to take him into custody. So that's a good story involving my dog. So that was good.
Yeah, pretty cool. What initially drew you to working with canines?
So my very first field training officer was at Jasper County Sheriff's Office. When I started there, I worked there for about 3 years, and then I went to the Joplin Police Department. But he was a canine handler and a sergeant for the for the sheriff's office, and he was a really good canine handler. So that was my first exposure to police dogs. And then when I left there, I went to Joplin Police Department, and there was I can't remember I think she was a patrolman at the time. She eventually worked her way up to captain before she retired, but she was a patrolman. Her name's Charlotte Geller. She had a dog, and we were on the same shift, and I took an interest in it. And anytime she needed a backup when she was using her dog, I would volunteer to go. So she saw that I liked it and that I was a good cop, so she encouraged me. When her dog retired, she encouraged me to test for the canine position. I got it. And I had 3 dogs there over that 17 or 18-year period.
So when you got into their canine program, what was the training process like?
My first dog, he was a German Shepherd named Max. We bought him from a vendor trainer in Tulsa, and I went there for 4 weeks of just training in all the different things he did, which 6 or 7 different things. And I was there for a month, Monday through Friday. I'd come home on the weekends, and then at the end, I was given an opportunity to certify through NAPWAD. It's the North American Police Work Dog Association. And it's the highest testing standard of any certifying body in the United States. So that was a good experience. It was a learning curve. I had some difficulty. He was pretty hard-headed, and he didn't want to do obedience, which is one of the things we're trained in. We have to certify in. So that took me a little while to get used to that. The trainer got pretty frustrated with me at some points, but we overcame that, and everything was good. I worked him on the street for 8 years, and then I got a Belgian Malinois named Takoa, and that was 6 weeks of the same sort of thing, but we bought him from a vendor in Elkhart, Indiana. During that time, I started the accreditation process to become a trainer for Nampawata, which I've been doing ever since.
How has policing changed since you first became an officer?
I'm not sure I can answer that question politically correct. It's definitely changed in that when I tested for the Joplin Police Department, it was not uncommon. They would test every 6 months, whether they had an opening or not, and they really didn't have a bunch of openings back then. And it was pretty tough to get on there because a lot of people wanted to be cops. And now, every department I know of, not just in this area but everywhere, can't get enough cops. So there's a major shortage for people going into law enforcement. And, a lot of that is just due to a variety of things, but much of it's due, I think, to the public perception of the police, mostly because of the media and all the high-profile things that have happened in the last 10 years. So that's definitely changed. The work itself has not changed. It's just the type of people that are drawn to law enforcement has kind of changed, and the number of them has dwindled quite a bit.
Okay. Going back to your experience with canines, did you have any dogs that were particularly difficult to train? And if so, what did you do?
I think every dog has a challenge. So the dogs I worked personally, the first one was like an obedience issue. I did have a dog I said I had 3 dogs. I only had 2 long-term. One dog, the one I got when my first dog retired, I only had him for total 8 weeks. And this is another good story, sort of. One night we got in pursuit of an impaired driver who wrecked into it was probably 8-foot water drainage thing in the middle of town, and ended up killing the female passenger. I didn't know that at the time, but he wrecked and got out of the car. He was not hurt and climbed out of that drainage ditch, and I was in an empty field. I saw him wreck. So I got my dog out, and I was walking toward the wreck and saw him crawl out of this deep ditch. And I sent my dog to go apprehend him. And in training, this dog was really solid, but he ran right up to the suspect and stopped, and then turned around and ran back the other way and ran by me and went to my car and wouldn't get out of the car. So I just ran up and tackled the suspect, and we took him into custody. But I knew I couldn't have that dog on the street because he failed in a very vital time. So I took him back and got another dog, who I ended up having till I retired from the police department. But I've trained, I don't know, tens and tens of dogs since then as a master trainer for Nampawata, and all of them have their challenges. Sometimes it's breed specific, but for the most part, you can overcome them just through training. It's honestly, training handlers is more of a challenge than training dogs, even if they're good handlers, because it's a whole new thing that most people have no experience at all in. Even if they've had dogs growing up, it's just different.
Okay.
What breeds do you usually look for, or physical attributes of a dog?
Some of it depends on a couple of different things, what they're being used for. But for the most part, agencies want narcotic detection or explosive detection, and all the patrol work, so tracking and building searches and suspect apprehension and all those different things. So German Shepherds are really good at those things, and Belgian Malinois as well. When I first got into Canine, Belgian Malinois were still pretty rare here in the United States, but they've become more and more popular. But if a department wants a single-purpose dog, like narcotics or explosive detection, other breeds do that as well. I've trained labs for narcotic detection only. I trained a German short-hair pointer one time for narcotics. But mostly it's German Shepherds and Malinois because of their ability to work and their willingness to work.
No labs?
Yeah, I've trained labs for narcotics only, but of course they don't. And I've trained them to track as well, but they don't, they're so docile, they don't really do bite work. So,
How do you know when your dog is done working, like ready for retirement?
Unfortunately, it's usually like a health issue. In larger breeds, oftentimes it's joint issues, arthritis, or hip dysplasia is usually what happens. So you can just see a slowdown in the dog, which doesn't necessarily mean when you first see it that they're ready to retire, but eventually, age gets everything, including dogs. So you just realize that it's time for the dog. And of course they want to keep working, but if you stretch it out too long, it's not fair to them because all the activity they do every day, just jumping in and out of the car, is pretty physically taxing. So if they're having health issues like that, joint problems or hip problems, then just going to work and getting in and out of the car becomes a bad experience for them. So it's best to just let them retire and rest.
Okay, so my name's Oscar. I've been in a couple of your classes.
Yeah.
So, back to tracking. I was just wondering, like, how do you like to position your officers when you're tracking? Like a couple feet or
like backup officers?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pretty good question. I don't know how many cops will hear this, but backup officers or officers in general that are involved in canine deployments sometimes make mistakes and mess them up. And tracking is one of those cases where it's easy for them to kind of mess things up. So the way we've always trained our backup officers that are actually going with us on a track, because of all the things that canine officers do, tracking is the most dangerous. And when canine handlers get killed, the overwhelming majority of deaths involving canine handlers are on tracks, because the handler is so focused on their dog, they can't be really good at being focused on their environment. So we obviously want to take backup with us. So we normally used 15 to 30-foot lines on our dogs, mostly 15, because even though we were Joplin is mostly like an urban environment, a city. We tracked a lot in like the woods, because there's woods even in town. There are trees, and you get on the outskirts of town and there's a lot of wooded areas. So having a really long line was difficult to manage in those environments. So we would use 15-foot lines, and we would just tell our backup to stay at least 15 feet behind us, so that if our dog, dogs get really good at, if they're tracking along and miss a turn, they'll self-correct. So they may be, displaying great tracking behavior, head down, tail up, good strength of pull, and they're really going, and all of a sudden their head comes up and they start making circles. We don't really train them on that. That's like a natural response to running out of human odor. They'll make circles and try to pick that odor back up. So they could just do it at any point. And if I have a backup officer that's 6 feet behind me and that dog makes a circle, it can go up to 15 feet in diameter. So it could get wrapped up in the backup officer's legs or whatever. So we would tell them to stay 15 feet behind us and at like the 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock position. And we would be at like the 6 o'clock position, and the dog would be at the 12. So they would be able, like if I had two people with me, one at the 4 and one at the 8, they would have their fields of responsibility and fields of fire if it came into a gunfight. So that normally, if they were able to do that, that normally prevented any interference with the dog's lead. So that's the main reason for that.
And then for like training, do you guys like train like every week?
Yeah, so it really kind of depends on the agency, but I run a weekly training group for just about every agency in this area that has a dog. Comes to my training group once a week. And because of manpower issues with police departments, they're short. Sometimes agencies can't come every week because they don't have enough people to cover the shift. But for the most part, most dog handlers here are in this area train once a week.
And does that go like for medical stuff for like the dogs? You have to get them checked up every month or
Like medical examinations for the dog. I recommend, when I was at Joplin, we did that twice a year at least, like sometimes x-rays, but it was always at least a wellness exam by a vet. So, but we also go to classes where we learn how to handle medical situations, like if a dog's shot or gets cut really badly or, ingest something it shouldn't. We do those classes a couple of times. Well, I try to do them once every year or two just to refresh everybody. But yeah, the dogs are, again, this kind of depends on the agency and their budget, but the dogs are really well taken care of.
I guess for our final question, do you have any advice for students that want to pursue a career in law enforcement?
Yeah. First, be good students and get college out of the way. And, even just being a patrol officer or an entry-level police officer, a college degree is helpful. I know students don't like to write, but police officers spend a lot of time writing reports, obviously. So be a good communicator, verbally and in written form, and be confident in your abilities. And get into police work, and don't think that you're stuck there if you don't like it, because even if you decide you don't like it, it's good experience for different sorts of jobs, whether in criminal justice or in other areas as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming down and talking with us, telling us about your experience and role in this field.
Yeah.
I think that'll do it for us. I think that's all of our
I
questions.
enjoyed it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the new segment, Real Talk, Real Laugh. And this is our ending segment of our podcast where I'm just going to come through and give you some advice. My name's Caitlin, and please don't take any of this advice seriously. It's from Google. So for today's episode, after our lovely Canine of Mr. Travis Walthall, I have two advices to give you if you just got a dog in your life. So first, quality over quantity when getting training. When getting a dog, don't feel like you need to spend multiple hours a day, every day, training your dog. Spending 5 to 10 minutes on a focused training on one specific skill can go a long way. Dogs are just like humans, and after a couple hours, they're going to get bored and not want to actually focus. And then number 2, don't forget to exercise your dog's mind and not just their body. Dogs need mental stimulation and not just physical. So don't forget to, when you're feeding them, getting them a wet mat for they can have different textures, but also giving them toys that they have to get the toy out of the specific hole, just to keep your dogs exercising their mind and keeping them at their mental health. But that's Real Talk, Real Laugh.